Hey, what's up, everyone? Today I've got my glasses on to convince you guys that I'm smart enough to teach you a little bit about water chemistry. If you're not familiar with water chemistry, let's start with pH. So I've got a pH meter here. This is just a battery operated one that you can buy online, and there's pretty inexpensive ones, but as you can see, I'm reading a pH of 9, which is slightly on the alkaline side, from neutral, which is 7. And the reason this is important is because of this nice colorful chart. So these are available on the internet if you haven't seen this before. But the key thing I'm looking at here is that for plant growth, these are all different elements that plants need to absorb. And at a pH of 9, there's very little absorption. So the wider the line, the better the absorption. And at a pH of 9, there's very little absorption of copper, zinc, manganese, iron, and even nitrogen. Whereas good absorption of phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, calcium, and to like sort of medium for manganese. Now, if you use municipal water, you're very likely to be getting water at a pH between 8 and 9 like I have here. So if you see that when you are fertilizing your trees, the trees are still not really growing very well, it makes sense to change the pH of the water by lowering it to between 5.5 and 7. 7 being neutral, 5.5 being basically a little bit acidic, a little bit on the acidic side, and that's what most plants want. That's what sort of in the ideal range here, where you get better absorption of a lot of the minerals. Now you can see it's not quite as good for some of these guys, but if you're seeing nutrient deficiencies in your plants, it's very likely yellowing can be caused by a lack of iron, manganese, etc. All right, so vitamin C. You can get this online or at grocery stores. This is actually a food product. Same thing that you would take as a vitamin C supplement. This is just in granular form rather than in pill form. The key thing to think about here is that when you're using this, a little bit goes a long way. So I'm just going to grab a little bit so you guys can see it outside the bag. So it's just a white crystalline powder, and I've got a 5-gallon bucket down here behind my little stand here, and this is a 1/8 teaspoon measure. So I'm going to take this. So this water came out of the 5-gallon bucket. It all came out of my tap. I was sure that I made sure to run the tap for a little while and rinse out the containers to make sure that I'm getting an accurate reading. But if I put this in here, it'll drop the pH all the way down to like 3 or something like that, which is way farther than we want to go. So I'm going to try just dropping this tiny little amount of citric acid into a 5-gallon bucket full of water and see what that does to the pH. Okay, so my pH meter just went off, but let me just turn it back on. Before it went off, it had gotten down to about 6.1. Now again, that's 1/8 of a teaspoon of citric acid into 5 gallons of water. Now, based on your water, you may have to add more or less acid, and you won't really know that without doing either an expensive water test, which is hard to understand, or just giving it a shot. When you get your pH down into this range, you're optimizing the ability of the plants to uptake the nutrients. There's a lot of other complicating factors that go into that, but if you can take this simple step, you can ensure a little bit better nutrient uptake for your bonsai, and that's your chemistry lesson for today.